Clayton Howard. Happy to have you on the platform, my guy.
Thank you very much, brother. It's a pleasure to be here.
For the people that's not familiar with you, introduce yourself to the people.
Well, I'm Clayton Howard. Unfortunately, I am one of the male providers or escorts, if you want to call them, that was heavily mixed up in the Diddy and Cassie matter.
Yes, indeed. So with that being said, I want to take it from the beginning. How did you first meet Diddy and Cassie?
Wow, that's a crazy story in itself. So I actually got incarcerated because a lot of these guys are like strippers and dancers. I'm gonna be honest. I used to be out there. Like I lived a very different life than I live right now. I got into some trouble in my early 20s, so they sent me to prison. And when I got out, I was in amazing shape. The jail glow, big arms, big shoulders, six pack abs. I had no problem getting women. So I was sleeping with this woman that I had like met in Manhattan or something, and she actually owned an independent agency that managed escorts. Some from basically busting her back down, she's like, "Yo, you are amazing. You realize you can make money from this." So, I think she's just gassing me. I'm like, "Baby, whatever." She's like, "No, I'm serious. Look at your body. You're amazing in bed." She's like, "Yo, I could make money for you. What's up?" And I'm like, "Get out of here with this." So she's coming at me for weeks with this art, weeks. Again, I had just came home. I'm trying to get a job. I don't want to go back to selling rock. So I had the idea to sell cock. I was like, you know what? Let's try it. Post me up. So let's see what happens. So she posts me up. And immediately I start getting calls from like older white couples, married men with wives, late 40s, excuse me, early 50s. It would turn out that would be my niche, older white women, love an in shape, dark skinned black man. And it was pretty profitable for a while. I want to say 60 days in is when I got the call from Cassie. Calling the woman through the agency that hired me independently. She calls me up. She says, "Listen, this girl saw your pictures and she's in love. She wants you to come over." I'm like, "Word?" Shorty tells me the girl sounds like she looks amazing. I said, "All right, give her my number. Let me talk to her." Whatever. She sends me Cassie's number. She gives Cassie my number. Before I could even call Cassie, Cassie calls me. "Hey, what's up, Dave? Yeah, what's going on?" She's like, "Yo, I saw your pictures. I like what I saw. Is that really your, manhood?" "Yeah, that's mine." She's like, "All right, I'm in the London hotel in New York. You want to come see me?" We go through the subtleties and I'm called to the London. That's the first time I meet Cassie.
And when you first met her, how did that go?
When I first met her, it was dope. I was obviously surprised by how beautiful she was. I never expected a woman that gorgeous to open the door. Never. I remember when she opened the door, I was so stuck. I was looking at her like, "Wow, look at this woman." And she actually had to speak to me just to snap me out of it. Like, "Yo, bro, hey, Dave." I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" So it was a lot to first see her, and it immediately put my guard up because she was too attractive. I'm like, "Why is this woman paying some guy to come here and give her a massage?" She could get anybody to get her a massage. Why does she want me to get her a massage? And I would find out later it had nothing to do with a massage. She wanted me to give her the works.
So how did she first bring that up to you that she wanted to have sex with you?
Let's see. I walk into the suite with her, beautiful suite. I'm sitting in the living room. We talk for a few minutes. She offers me a drink, whatever. We're just like basically getting to know each other. She then says, "Let me see what you're working with." I said, "Okay, cool." By then I was a little drunk. I had a few drinks. I'm like, "All right." I show her. She starts salivating. She's like, "Yeah, that's what's up." She says, "All right." She takes out a joint. She passes me a joint. This is when she tells me that her husband is there and he wants to watch. Now, prior to this, she never told me she was with anyone else. She tells me at this point that he's there, he's cool, he's into her being satisfied by guys that are larger than him. He's really into the lifestyle. She starts to explain to me that they're swingers. They do their little, like swinging stuff. She asked me, did I have a problem with him watching? Now, considering my past clients, I had no problem with him watching because I had done this with the three or four. I actually think I had like 5 solid clients by then. And usually, when husbands called me to give me their wives, they usually watched the first encounter if it went to a sexual encounter. So they would basically sit in the room and watch to make sure their wife is safe. So when, Cassie said this to me, I was kind of, I want to say, numb to the situation of someone watching me from a voyeur standpoint. So I said, cool, no problem. And he came down. He was really quiet. He had his face covered with a baseball cap. I think it was Pittsburgh because it had a yellow P on it and his bandana wrapped around his nose and his mouth. He spoke to me like, yeah. I said, yeah. Barely said a word. Immediately grabbed a bottle of baby oil, went to the dark corner, sat in the corner. Cassie comes up to me. She starts talking to me, complimenting my body, my chest. She asked Diddy, can she begin? Can she touch me? He told her no, put the baby oil on. And that was my education that night into how the next 8 years would be.
So he was cool with a man having a bigger manhood than him. He was turned on by that.
Yes, he was. There were even encounters where I remember specifically with the gentleman who testified first for the trial, Daniel Phillip. I remember when this guy paid us for the orgy with Cassie, that he was actually looking at me and Daniel Phillip, and he was like, "Yo, if I had you guys, like manhood, I wouldn't even have to work. I wouldn't have to do nothing." And me and Daniel Phillip looked at each other like, "Whoa, what the hell is he talking about?" You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Do you think he hired you because you can please Cassie in ways he couldn't?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't like to talk this way about Cassie because she does deserve the respect of the confidentiality of our sexual encounter. But I think she kind of forewent that by speaking about it herself and bringing this before the media. But when I used to have sex with Cassie, Cassie used to come like that, literally like that. I don't know how. Like I watched her and Diddy have sex. He wasn't doing what I was doing. I would have sex with her in maybe 5 minutes. She'd squirt and come all over the place. She was an incredibly sexual young woman. Incredibly, incredibly sexual.
When was the next time y'all met up after the first meeting?
Well, after that encounter, it went for probably, I want to say, a little under a day. But the funny part is when I was leaving, Cassie actually comes to me and she's like, "Yo, that was great. Can you stay longer?" I had been there maybe 12 hours already. So I'm like, you're going to pay me again, right? And she said, absolutely. Hold on. She goes upstairs. She gets me some money. I can't remember how much it was off the top of my head now, but she comes back. She gives me a wad of cash and she was like, yo, how long can you stay? And, basically, honestly, I told her, well, how long are you going to pay me? She said, the same amount. I said, as long as you want me to stay, that's the same amount of time. You give me the same amount, I'm going to give you the same time. So I stay with her. We have an excellent, like encounter. It goes really well. I liked Cassie when I met her. Cassie's a very down to earth woman. She's polite. She has excellent energy. There's really no way you could not like Cassie when you meet her. This is the truth. She's a very, very affable and nice person. So I was actually kind of surprised where like 2, 3 weeks later, she called me again. And she's like, yo, are you around? And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess you couldn't get enough. She said, no, I've been thinking about you the whole time. What's up? Can you come meet me at the same place? I said, all right. I go back to the London hotel. I meet her in the same place. The same thing happens again. Word for word with the freak offs as far as the baby oil, the stages of a freak off until we finally had intercourse. And then I left to the next time.
Did they give you any rules when it came to the freak offs?
I never was given a role. I was never even told the name of this was a freak off. The truth is, the only time I was ever told or given a name for what these was is the time that me, the first guy who testified, Daniel Phillip, and Diddy actually ran a train on Cassie. And Diddy himself and Cassie called it a sexathon, but they never called it a freak off. The first I've heard freak offs, because I'm from the hood. People we know all know what freak offs is, but I've never heard it like commercially, publicly, as far as with this case until I started hearing this and with Cassie put in the lawsuit and the fact that the U.S. Attorney's Office was marketing him as making these freak offs.
So Daniel Phillips, he had an orgy with Diddy and Cassie, and they called it a sexathon.
Yes, they Diddy and Cassie themselves referred it to a sexathon, but they called me. Daniel Phillip was already there. Cassie actually calls me and she's like, "Yo, do you mind watching me with another guy?" And I did, because I had never been involved with her and someone else. I kind of really thought it was a monogamous situation. Diddy was not well endowed, and she just needed somebody to fill her and satisfy her. So I really believed at this time that that was my role, that I was only being called in because this rich and powerful guy could not satisfy his woman. It wasn't until I got in this freak off that I saw her like in front of Daniel Phillip with and Diddy with like, two penises in her face that I was realizing like, wow, this chick is not what you think. It was actually a little hurtful, I'll be honest. It was a little heartbreaking when I to walk in there and see her with penises in her face and to be completely engaged in it, like, oh, like she loves it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I did look at her different.
And you said this lasted 2 days, right?
It lasted 2 days, about a day and a half, 2 days.
How does that work? Because I know y'all not having sex for 2 days straight. So what is y'all doing in between time?
It's in like stages, or what you want to call like sessions. So let's say like in that encounter, I remember specifically like myself, Daniel Phillip, and Diddy might, all three run a train on her. She gets a little exhausted, so she needs a break. They go into the master suite. Me and Daniel Phillip wait in the other room until they're ready again. So basically what happens is you have the session until Cassie has an orgasm. Once Cassie has an orgasm, she usually needs a break. So she'll retire to the master suite, and we're forced to pretty much sit there and wait till she's recuperated enough to come back for another orgasm. And that's how it would last 2, 3 days. Let's say we had sex with her for an hour or two. She might take an hour, hour and a half break. She'll come back. She wants some more. Then she might go take a 2 or 3 hour break. She'll come back. She wants some more. That's pretty much how it went so long.
And where were y'all climax at? Would y'all do that on Cassie or would y'all get a towel? And, I don't know. How does that work?
Well, we all wore condoms this encounter because it was three of us there, and I'm pretty sure she didn't want to like blow up the fact that she was just sleeping with everybody raw. So this encounter, we did wear condoms, and the objective was is like if you ejaculated to take the condom off and kind of like try to put it on her. Um, I was honestly grossed out by this encounter. I don't think I actually ejaculated the entire time because she used to like she would orgasm so quick that she would be like wait because she came and she would push me up, and this literally went on for 2 days where like she would orgasm, I would get close and I wouldn't. So you can imagine the experience, the feeling of blue balls I had leaving there, continually having sex with this woman and never orgasming.
Right. So you was in the sexathon. Not only was you watching, but you was actually involved too.
I joined in because Diddy, when I got to the apartment, I really didn't want to do it. But Diddy comes to me after like maybe 30 minutes sitting there, like, what's up, Playboy? What you gonna do? It was either put out or get out. So I kind of had to put out and engage in the situation or leave.
Wow. Man, that's
They don't play, put out and get out.
right. Yeah. Yeah, Cassie, man. I didn't know she was getting busy like that, man. Damn.
Cassie get busy, yo. Like even it's kind of funny because I think I was telling you, like, now that I've gone public, a lot of other providers are reaching out to me that saw Cassie. And they're like, bro, you got so much courage, bro, because everything you're saying is right. She was with this. This is what she did. And we tried to tell the US attorney. They didn't want to listen to us.
And the longest freak off you had with Cassie was 4 days, right? In Miami.
Yes, it was.
Break that down if you don't mind.
That was a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol. Um, it just, something like you didn't even realize when you were in these encounters that they went so long, especially if they like convinced you to take the drug. Because the thing about ecstasy and Molly, those type of drugs, is they're not drugs that suppress you. They don't numb you. They heighten everything. So if you take them, you have a bunch of energy and like your nerves are every nerve in your body is alive because you have the sexual sensation to continue to go forward. So with drugs like these, you just stay up and you don't even realize that you're up so long because you're kind of like having fun. You feel good. So you're constantly having sex. Before you know it, you start in the morning. It's nighttime. You might doze off for maybe 30 minutes, start having sex again. By the time you finish, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. We fall asleep for a few hours. We wake up 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, order breakfast, start again. And before you know it, you're 3, 4 days in, dehydrated, brain feel like marshmallow from all the drugs that you've been taking for 3 or 4 days, and your body's sore, you're marked up. Like I used to be bruised as far as my penile shaft from obsessive masturbation of her standing there making me stroke myself so she could see my member. I don't recall the extended sessions as that were 3, 4 days to ever end well. Like I was always bruised up. I always had like scarring and tears on my penis. I would always be completely dehydrated and out of it for days. The long encounters were usually the worst.